Nobody invented music. Lucifer did, supposedly, but no human, no physical individual ever invented anything. I think Obama talked about this once, how it doesn't matter who you think you are, the world doesn't revolve around you, for you are nothing without your community. And the same goes for the realm of the music industry. Billy Corgan didn't do anything new, he simply showed us the world through a particular lens. I use the Smashing Pumpkins as an example because Billy Corgan admitted that he simply rearranged what was already there in a way that only he could do. And this doesn't make him special, because when he ceases to exist, he will no longer be. And this is the point. If we could make copies of Billy Corgan, clones, let's say, exact physical replicas down to the atom, and we had, say, 1,000,000 of them, the Billy Corgan model of human being would be literally worthless, economically speaking. This scenario is supposedly not possible in this dimension, at least at this time, but certain things are. Do you get it? When you transform a physical object into information, ones and zeros, it becomes worthless as a commodity. Literally. No exception. This applies to music, this applies to books, this applies to films and TV shows. For the good of humanity, we should force the outdated institutions to release all of the footage that they have of everything, and all the recordings they have of everything, and all the maps and drawings and religious texts into massive, carefully cataloged archives on the internet. Oh wait, oh wait, oh wait. Where's the money? This is the problem. This is the problem with the world. The people who do the least for the world get the most out of it. And yes, maybe they're rich because they're good, quote unquote, at their jobs. But their jobs could be done by anybody, which means they are literally valueless as a human being, at least as we see them. When they're in the dark, we only imagine what goes on. Which is to say, if your job, so to speak, isn't an expression of who you are as an individual, then the time you spend working will feel worthless to you, no matter how much money you make, because you know inherently that it is. Which brings us to an important crossroads. The institution versus the individual, the organ versus the organism, or the species versus the ecosystem, etc. This phenomena that takes place is, at its most basic level, this. Everything is made up of smaller things and is part of a bigger thing, whether or not he, she, or it is aware of it. Do you understand? No thing stands still, which is to say everything is moving. Which way does it move? It takes the path of least resistance. Hot air goes up. Why? It's moving faster. So what does this imply? This is gravity. Things that are less dense than other things go up or down to an earthworm. Quite a different reality is apparently observable. This is like the Hydra, the serpent, with a bunch of heads. I forget how many. We can imagine that each head as an individual is aware of itself individually, and others possibly peripherally. But for each head to have awareness of the whole, they would be less effective as individuals, thus less effective as a community. Who knows what an earthworm might know? An earthworm might know a lot. The earthworm could hold the world in his tiny neural storage facility, or the worm could be a subtle electronic network of energetic currents of information which he can call to his aid as he needs. Which is, as I see it, the most palpable theory. The theory of what? How God, G-O-D, can be born into the kingdom of man, of course, which brings us back full circle. In this age of information, so-called, the one with the most knowledge has the most power. And what if all of the world's knowledge was already perfectly accessible to anyone, as an individual at any one time? He would be master of this reality, God in the flesh, literally. It's for this reason the Christ story is so laughable. And I would say it's appalling that incomplete stories such as this are being propagated, and what's worse, actually spread and believed and discussed as if it was actually tangible. Information is, was, and will always be power. The next world war will be fought over information. Actually, we may have already fought it. You're just not in the know. Which is to say, how do you know what you know? You don't. Because too much awareness is fatal for the individual. Unless, of course, he's the one with the most. The people currently controlling the flow of information are out of touch with the people consuming and creating it. As is the case always with an individual versus institution relationship. They say Lucifer actually won the battle with the demiurge, but chose to give up his throne because he knows that the renegade will always become a tyrant if he is successful. And if he isn't, his children will. Or will they? It is evident that Google, even these new institutions, Google is implementing sincere quantities of artificially intelligent software into the mainstream, to the extent of which only the people at the tippy top of the Google pyramid know. But how can they be sure? Ice melts, water rises, all is dead, and nobody lives, or so they say. Who says? Not I. We say. We say what? We don't have to say anything because we know. What do we know? All politicians are actors. All institutions exist to serve the institution first and the individual second. But we're not ants. That's why they say, know thyself and all shall be known. 1, 2, 3. Is, isn't, and in between. And we are all of this. Or better yet, a combination. I'm pretty sure that's true, but I don't know.